Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to ReelQuick, episode 99, one away from our big 100, which will drop next week. Obviously, very exciting episode. Today, we are doing... Oh my God, excuse me, I just burped, my fault. I'm not...
Gross.
Yeah, we're leaving that in, doesn't matter. Today, we are doing our patron-suggested movie review. As I mentioned yesterday on our ReelQuick episode, we are keeping it very horror-centric this month, which I'm very excited about because I'm excited for Tyler to check off a lot of horror off his watch list. I'm excited to just dive into these movies. They're fun to talk about, especially if we pick something a little more fun like Cloverfield. So again, to all of our patrons, if you want to suggest movies, games, rankings, drafts, feel free to make it as creative within the horror realm as possible. Our draft yesterday of our favorite horror weapons, that was a ton of fun to record, a ton of fun to just discuss, various methods of slaughtering people. But today, movie review. Shout out to our patron, Cameron Sheretz. He has recommended Cloverfield, which I'm very excited about. I'm a big found footage guy. I seem to just adore those movies. And this is also found footage, as Seth mentioned off call. Found footage, science fiction, horror, set in New York. This is just like the perfect me movie. I absolutely adore this thing. Obviously, I feel like I rewatch this movie every so often. I just watched it with Victoria for the first time a couple weeks ago. Not my first time, Victoria's first time.
Did she like it?
She did, surprisingly, more than I expected her to. She didn't find it as scary as I think she expected it to be, and I'll be curious to hear Tyler's thoughts on whether or not he thought it was overly scary or not. So without further ado, let's just dive right into it. Tyler, we'll start with you. Your first watch. Again, I'm curious to see. Coming from someone who doesn't necessarily love horror as much as Seth and I, what were your thoughts on Cloverfield? Was it as scary as you maybe thought it was? Are you a big found footage guy? Give us your thoughts.
So I'm trying to remember if I have seen any other found footage films before this, because obviously there's found footage films outside of the horror genre, but I can't think of any that are coming to mind.
I'd consider Searching and Missing found
footage.
Yeah, which you've seen.
So yeah, okay. But yeah, I'd still say I'm pretty new to the found footage game. One thing, once we're done talking our reviews, I'm excited to dive into, because IMDb for the fun facts on this movie is filled with stuff I can't wait to talk about. There's so much interesting stuff.
There's a lot of stuff, especially with the marketing campaign and stuff.
Yeah, the marketing, the production, so much cool stuff that we're going to dive into. But the movie itself, I really liked. Obviously, George, since this podcast's inception, has always been, loves found footage, and I've never really understood, mainly because I haven't seen much, and I still the visits to the only M. Night Shyamalan I haven't ticked off. So there's still more found footage out there I'm going to be watching in the near term future. But man, I really liked Cloverfield. It wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. I didn't really think it was going to be that scary anyways, but I remember when it initially came out when I was younger, because I was way less into horror movies back then. I just completely avoided it my whole life. I think when it came out, I was initially a little put off. I was that looks a little too intense for me, but absolutely not. I really dug the found footage. I thought it was done super well. The movie itself was super cool. Matt Reeves, obviously the director, who directed the Batman as well, and just everything about this movie I really dug. I really enjoyed the characters in it. What's his name? The guy from Silicon Valley and Deadpool, TJ Miller.
Mm-hmm.
It was the perfect level of TJ Miller for this, because sometimes some projects realize he's a comedic guy, and maybe this is because it was earlier in his career where they didn't just completely he obviously is the comedic relief in this movie, but I didn't think they overused his comedic relief to make it to a point where it's cringe and bad. But yeah, I don't know. I really dug it. It's a super short movie, an hour 20 right on the dot. And I don't know. I just had a blast with it. The entire movie, I had such a great time with it. It unfolds so fast, and obviously it is found footage, so it's pretty much a couple jumps in there, but mostly it's just a continuous 80-minute stream of what's going on as New York gets completely overtaken by this mysterious beast that the military is trying to take out, and people are dying, buildings are falling. Obviously the Statue of Liberty's head getting knocked off, everyone knows. But yeah, I just had a really, really good time with this. Way better time than I was expecting to. Since my review is hidden, I forgot. So my actual score for Cloverfield is an 8.4 out of 10 for 4 stars. So real close to 4.5. I had a really good time with this. I had a lot of fun with this movie. Weirdly, I have seen the other 2 Cloverfield movies, but I never saw the original one.
What do you think of 10 Cloverfield Lane?
Really like 10 Cloverfield.
I
Lane.
really like Cloverfield.
Now that I watched Cloverfield, I'm going to rewatch it because I saw both the Cloverfield's other ones when they came out. So before I was logging movies, so I'm going to rewatch them. I didn't care for the Cloverfield paradox. I think that's a pretty common sentiment, but I really like 10 Cloverfield Lane. I thought John Goodman was great in it, so I'll rewatch that as well. It's a weird little anthology series, like all connected but not really connected. It's kind of an odd little franchise-ish thing, but yeah, the initial Cloverfield. I would say it lived up to the hype, but I think it kind of exceeded it because I think a lot of people say they liked it, they thought it was cool for what it was, but maybe are more than like a 3.5. But yeah, it's close to 4.5 for me. I think I'll rewatch it because it is so short, it's so digestible, and I just had a great time with it.
Yeah, well, we'll jump right into Seth. I know you've seen this before, Tyler. I'm very happy that you enjoyed this. Obviously, one of my favorite found footage films, and I'll get into why in a little bit. But Seth, your thoughts on Cloverfield? I feel like I don't know your overall thoughts on found footage.
Yeah, found footage and me, like, I don't know, we're a bit like, we have like a bit of a toxic relationship because like sometimes I really like them, sometimes I hate them. Blair Witch.
Fuck off.
But yeah, like I like, generally speaking, I like. There's a lot of found footage films I like The Visit, like Wreck, like Cloverfield, whatever. But I'm not like, as huge on it as George, but I tend to quite like them. I think Cloverfield kind of runs with that similar lane. I think Cloverfield's really interesting because not only is it like devastating, but there's some clear post kind of 9/11 subtext in there as well. There's some clear political subtext in there as well about the city going into anguish and the panic that it creates. And I think it was actually really well done, surprisingly well done. So I've seen this multiple times. I don't know if I found it particularly scary, but I think it's intense. I think it's pretty well acted and well scripted for the most part. And I think it's really kind of unique take on like a monster movie, a modern day monster movie. And I think doing it in a found footage way this is kind of the perfect route for that with this sort of film to create the panic and to make you feel like you're there as a bystander. Yeah, I think Cloverfield is good. I have it at a 3.5. I think I'm definitely more of a fan of 10 Cloverfield Lane, but I certainly like this one more than Paradox because that was
shit movie.
Well, from what I remember, I watched when it came out. I remember it being like pretty terrible.
Do you remember when it came out? Do you remember that?
Do I remember the hype behind it?
No. No one knew the movie was being made. No one knew when it was going to release. And then I think it was on like a Thursday night football game. They dropped the trailer. And then at the end of the trailer, it just said, like, available now on Netflix. And everyone, like, freaked
it was, like,
out.
Straight to stream, wasn't it?
I watched it immediately. I watched it immediately. I was like, what the fuck? They just dropped a new Cloverfield movie out of nowhere?
I do remember because it was really different from the first one. Like, obviously, Tyler's got some facts, but Cloverfield, probably known to be maybe one of the best, if not the best, horror marketing campaign of all time in terms of the way they push things out. Like a Blair Witch or a Ring, they took a similar approach to it. But yeah, I think Cloverfield's good. I think it works exactly what it needs to on found footage. I don't love it by any means, but I do like it. I definitely prefer 10 Cloverfield Lane. But like I said on the podcast, this is just like a George film. It's made for George. Like literally, it is everything. But yeah, 3.5. I think it's really, really good.
Yeah, I love this movie as well. It's one of my favorite found footage films, right there with like Blair Witch and Wreck, like Seth mentioned. This is just like it's a fantastic found footage film. It's a fantastic horror film. It's a fantastic monster film. It's a fantastic post-apocalyptic or apocalyptic film in a sense. I just think it like hits all of the beats and just does everything so brilliantly. I think there's not too much like intrigue in our characters. I think they try to go into depth with our main character trying to find his ex-girlfriend, and then like one of our characters when they're in the subway gets bit, and obviously she like turns into whatever happens to her, and I think that adds like a little bit of intrigue and really like adds to the sense of urgency of the situation. There's just so much within the monster aspect of this film that I fucking adore. Weird comparison, but the monster elements of this film remind me heavily of Jaws, where in Jaws, like they're hiding the shark. Like they don't want you to be scared by the shark. They want you to be scared by everyone's panic around the shark. That's what's making you
thinking about
that's what's frightening you in Jaws and in Cloverfield, not the actual creature that's causing this destruction and this chaos, but the way in which everyone is reacting to it and the way in which like panic just ensues so quickly. So everything with the monster I love. The creature design was also really fucking stunning. I just think it's like very simple, but it's very effective. It's just like this giant body, or like it's basically like a giant dog with like crazy long legs, and they just made it look a little more alien. So there's nothing like crazy about the creature design. And I said the same thing in my review of No One Will Save You, the Hulu original that just dropped. Like, there's nothing crazy about the alien design. Like, the alien design in that movie is as if you asked a 12-year-old to just draw an alien. Like, that's exactly what they would draw, just a very skinny person with longer arms and big beady eyes. And I feel like that's a similar approach they took for Cloverfield. Like, they didn't want to like give you some crazy creature design, because at the end of the day, I don't think this movie is about a creature ravaging New York. I think it's about the panic that it's causing and how people are reacting to it. And I think in a found footage setting, it just amplifies the effectiveness so much when you're just kind of seeing everything from the point of view of our characters, and you're kind of, it's like The Thing, like we just discussed. It's like you feel like you're a part of this group. You feel like you're there with them, and you're reacting to everything that they're seeing for the first time. You're reacting with them. So to me, it's
what was the budget for this film? Do we know?
It had to be so low, if I imagine.
I think it was about I don't think it was low. Maybe like 10, 20 million, maybe.
Yeah, tiny.
But like,
I mean, not tiny.
25 million. Yep.
Yeah.
It made like a lot, didn't it? Because I can imagine that was also like what they were thinking when it comes to like a creature design, because this is such a it's small scale, but it's also big scale at the same time, and obviously that will come into play when it comes to the special effects and whatever. So I kind of get it, but yeah,
and
it's
then,
not the focus. The alien isn't the focus, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. Because like that again, that's what I love about this movie. Is like, yes, the movie's about a monster ravaging New York, but again, that's not the point of the movie. The point of the movie is, how is this friend group reacting to the environment that they're in? How are they going to, proceed with caution while also being in like this heightened sense of paranoia and panic? I'll drop a hot take maybe. I think the shot of the Statue of Liberty's head being flung through New York and crashing is like one of the most iconic horror scenes out there. It's to me one of the most recognizable. The poster, obviously, of Cloverfield is the headless Statue of Liberty after the monster obviously took it and ravaged it. The scene on the bridge is so, to me, well, I guess the scene on the bridge in I Am Legend is reminiscent of Cloverfield, and I love that. Yeah. Whether it was intended or not, I love that I Am Legend did like a little callback maybe to this bridge scene, because I feel like in any movie when you're trying to escape a city, a bridge becomes just the most claustrophobic feeling place, and it's so easy to like utilize that environment on a bridge to like just elevate everyone's like fear of the situation. Like you're either going
Purge Anarchy, if you remember.
Yeah, Purge Anarchy too.
The car breaks down, they're stuck on the bridge.
Because you're on a bridge, you either go straight, go back, or you go down and die. Yeah. So it just makes for such like an unpredictable setting and such an unpredictable experience. And for a lot of found footage films, I think the problem, and Seth, I think both of us just recently watched Hell House LLC. For the first time, and I think the biggest problem that movie had, while the first like 45 minutes to an hour were really solid found footage, I couldn't find myself placing myself in this situation. Like I could not connect with these characters because the found footage just didn't hit as hard as I would have liked. It didn't feel as raw and as real. Whereas in Cloverfield, you truly feel like you're the one holding the camera. It's so spotty. It's so shaky. All of these characters, I think, are just written very well in a sense that this is how a bunch of 20, 30-something-year-olds would react in a situation like this. So, yeah, I think, like Seth said, this is just like a perfectly me movie. I really adore it. I think the science fiction elements are fantastic. Like I said, the horror elements work. The found footage is really solid and very immersive. Everything to do with the monster and how people would react to that, I think, is just, it's done the best way it could be done. Obviously, we've had some stunning monster movies in the past, but I don't think any of them capture, that state of panic that Cloverfield captures. So overall, yeah, this is such a staple for me. It's one of my favorites in the horror genre. It's one of my favorites just in general. The more I talk about it, the more I'm inclined to raise the rating of it. Tyler, I want to hear these fun facts. I feel like I've been rambling for a while.
No, I'll get to them. And similar to what you just said, I'm close to raising it to 4.5 too. Like the more I look into the movie, like I just like it so much more. And like two like comments. One, the real icing on the cake for me is the final like 2 seconds of the movie, how like the camcorder shuts off and then it shows like them at Coney Island. Like, damn, that was like such a great way to end it. And then also like that dude's like the boyfriend or ex-boyfriend of the century. Like he went on a mission.
Yeah,
like,
he wanted
that's
her.
A loyal man that like he will do anything. Also I mentioned how TJ Miller, this was early in his career, found out it is his debut in movies. He was just a stand-up comedian before that. So that makes sense that he'd never been an actor before this. So it makes sense that they didn't like overuse him or anything like that. But
fucking killed.
Yeah, we'll get into these fun facts. I have like a ton that I'm going to go over. I don't really know the best way to do it, but we'll start with the iconic trailer that everyone knows. It debuted before Transformers in 2007, which was just such a perfect trailer before a movie like Transformers, because the trailer was just, the quick, huge explosion in New York City, and then the Statue of Liberty head flying away. And
iconic.
Yeah, it was so iconic and just such a great way. Like before a movie like Transformers is all about huge explosions and massive blockbuster, like to have something like this, people were absolutely talking about it. And there was no title at the time of the movie either. It was just like huge explosion, Statue of Liberty's head flies, coming soon. Like insane way to market a movie. And the cool thing about that is like they knew like how good that was too, because they filmed that entire trailer before they even started principal production on the movie. So they like had this idea that like this is the trailer we're dropping, and then we're gonna actually start filming the movie. But yeah, just one of the most iconic ways to market a horror movie of all time, giving people absolutely nothing to go off of. Just such a crazy way just before Transformers to drop this movie. It's funny because Matt Reeves, like he obviously is credited as the director, but in the trailer and at the end of the movie, like J.J. Abrams as the producer is very much publicized way more than Matt Reeves. Like I think the first credit that pops up is like produced by J.J. Abrams. I think, or I'm positive because I've rewatched the trailer, that they don't even mention directed by Matt Reeves. So obviously he wasn't a household name. The Batman is this movie like put him on the map for people to know him, but the Batman, I mean, if we're being honest, is the movie that really had people to be like know him as a first and last name basis. But yeah, that was crazy. The running time of the film is the exact length that the tape would actually last on those camcorders. So they got that to a T correct. They kept the script completely secret until an actor signed on. They weren't allowed to read the script at all. So the main love interest in the movie thought it was a romantic movie the entire time. None of the actors knew what the hell this movie was. They used a fake name called Cheese. So Cloverfield wasn't even, I mean, they had no title during the trailer, and Cloverfield was kind of just a random title they gave it, which was the name of the city where Bad Robot Productions is based in California. There's something that's like their offices are on like Cloverfield Park or something like that. So I think it just kind of like threw on a name, which is kind of funny that now it's turned into a franchise-ish of sorts with 10 Cloverfield Lane and Cloverfield Paradox. That it's just a random movie title they slapped on this movie, and now it became like the name of a franchise. There's just a bunch of fun stuff to read through here. So the head of the Statue of Liberty is actually 50% larger than its actual size, but they actually did use the correct size in the movie. And then in test screenings, people were like, that's way too small. The Statue of Liberty's head is way bigger than that. And they're like, it literally isn't. We use the exact size, but fine, we'll make it bigger for you guys if you guys are complaining.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's actually smaller than that. One issue some people have with the movie is them having cell phone service in the subway station, but there's an interesting fact saying that the subways in New York City are wired underground with cell service to allow for emergency calls. So basically during an apocalypse where everything above ground is getting bombed and exploded, the subway stations of NYC might be the only place actually that you could have cell phone service.
George, try it.
I never have
Try
cell phone service.
Yeah.
Like when we go
it.
underground.
No, just for emergency calls though.
Oh, okay.
Try it.
What's your emergency? I'm just testing it out, bro, just in case.
The head of the Statue of Liberty, of course, we talked about John Carpenter's The Thing on the main episode, and Escape from New York is kind of what it's paying homage to there with the head of the Statue of Liberty. There's more. From the TV show Lost, the Dharma Initiative is a logo that appears a couple times throughout this movie, so callbacks to the movie Lost.
That one I knew.
Just such a the production of this movie sounds so fun to be a part of, because so much of the voiceover work is like producers on the film. Matt Reeves is like the voice and like so many of like the screaming and off screen like dialogue. So it just seems like a bunch of like guys hanging out making a movie, all just kind of pitching in, doing their parts. The film has no musical score or anything until 1:30 into the credits, so no score. And then that score just happens to be from Michael Giacchino. So it's like just so awesome. That's just like literally just like gets Michael Giacchino just to do like a post credits quick score for the film. Like it just seems like a bunch of friends in Hollywood that made like such a fun movie together. Let's see if I got any other couple things in here. Yes, Steven Spielberg was very involved in this production as well. J.J. Abrams, of course, producing it. I thought there was a couple more things. No, I think that's about
it's so
it.
odd to me that they like marketed J.J. Abrams more than Matt Reeves, because like at that point, like obviously J.J. Abrams now is like a household name, but like at that point he had done
Star Trek? No, that was 2009.
like Mission Impossibles were after, Star Trek was after, obviously the sequel Star Wars series was after. Like he hadn't done Super 8 was after, so it's not like he had like done anything that would like I
Is
guess
it a
warrant them to
Armageddon?
like yeah.
No, he didn't. He wrote that. So I don't fucking
Yeah, I don't know.
know.
Very interesting. Maybe just Matt Reeves
Yeah.
just didn't want his name out there.
And but yeah, it's just so crazy how it all came together. And so many people, like one of the main criticisms when this movie came out was, why would people be recording during an apocalypse and getting it out? Like, wouldn't they be worried about their own lives?
That's
And obviously
all
we've
I would be
seen,
doing.
and we've seen in the years since then, modern day, people will film anything. Even if they're people like so many news stories came out of people literally dying trying to film something or taking pictures of something. So that's something that's just like aged like fine wine for this movie, where like people like right when it came out initially, critics were like, this is so unrealistic. People wouldn't be recording this whole thing. And
So,
now it is like, oh yeah, absolutely. People, everyone would be recording. Everyone would have their phone. Like no one would be running away. They'd be like, I need this on film. I'm going to go viral on TikTok.
People were out in the streets literally last weekend. I mean, technically yesterday when we're recording this episode, but when it drops last weekend, when New York City was being flooded, people were out in the streets swimming, recording everything in sight. Like my TikTok was just videos of Brooklyn literally underwater, people in the Hudson River swimming, fucking crazy. Like people will record anything they want.
Isn't that like water you do not want to be swimming in?
That is water you absolutely do not want to be swimming in.
And then lastly, last fun fact, just a little like I just think there's just so many little minor creative things on this. Is that like TJ Miller's character is the one recording. His name's Hudson, goes by HUD, which can also be, you know, heads up display for like when you're watching something. So kind of like his name obviously kind of means something here. And also a lot of there's like several scenes in the movie where when people are running, you'll see people trip and fall, and like multiple, like at least like 6 of those instances in the movie are actual like production crew on the movie, like not purposely falling, like running with the boom mics or something, or like running, trying to follow the scene and tripping and falling. And Matt Reeves said like multiple injuries happened, but they like kept it all in the movie to keep like the realism alive. So like on the bridge, especially, a ton of the people that get trampled over were just like actual production people that were not planning on being in the movie, but it happened and they fell and they just kept it in the movie. And then just a lot of stuff with the script, how it just kept so hidden. And TJ Miller, one of the main reasons he was cast in this movie is because he was a stand-up comedian who's kind of has to be light on their feet improvising. And they asked him to do a lot of improvising in this movie. And we've seen this with other movies before too, where they kind of have one person in the movie that is supposed to kind of go off script a bit and just say things and see how the other characters react. So there's a ton of stuff from TJ Miller's perspective that the other characters didn't know he was going to say or do during the movie, and they just kind of had to play off of it and go off of it. So just fun. Like I love reading about this production. I literally just picture, you know, a group of men and women in one room together, coming up with this super cool and revolutionary like marketing scheme and way to make a movie. And then in post-production, how the producers and Matt Reeves and all of them were basically doing a lot of that like voiceover work and the screams and stuff. They were recording it themselves. It seemed like a super fun project to be a part of that I'm sure everyone had a blast making. And the fact that they made the trailer and filmed the trailer and planned the whole thing before they even started production of the actual movie, it's just crazy because they just knew they had a winner right when they came up with the idea for this film. But that's all I had. It's a fun IMDb page if you want to check it out. But I really like this movie, man. I'm going to rewatch it for sure because it is a fun one. This could easily become one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah, easily one of like my top horror favorites of all time. It's just a movie I can rewatch countless times and just be consumed by the environment that they built around these stupid characters of 30 year olds just reacting to this situation. But we could wrap up our review there. That was our ReelQuick episode 99 patron suggested review. So shout out our patron Cameron Sherritt. Shout out all of our patrons for the constant support you guys give us. And again, I've said this countless times already. Month of horror, so feel free to get as creative as possible. Feel free to suggest any horror film you want, no matter how niche or no matter how popular it may be, just anything you guys may want us to watch. Same with the drafts and the rankings. Just get creative with it. Just get fun with it. You know, it's fun to talk about horror, which is a weird way to describe it, but you know, we do genuinely have a great time with these movies, and we do genuinely enjoy talking about them. So shout out to everyone for listening. Thank you for stopping by. ReelQuick 99, very special ReelQuick 100 coming next week. And of course, we can't thank you guys enough for getting us to that point. So without further ado, we will see you guys on Monday.